Hello everyone, and welcome to your video on how to pick out your lumber for your boards in case you're going to be breaking them yourself. And I've also got some alternatives here in case you're looking for something a little different if you're on a budget, because you can break these thousands and thousands of times, and you know with your regular wood boards you can only break those one time. Okay, when you go to pick out your lumber, make sure when you go to the store, Lowe's or your home improvement store, make sure when you go they're going to have the sheets of pine. Make sure when you go to do it now, make sure you test a couple sheets out. Make sure you get the lightest kind, because pine, it does, if you get a real heavy sheet, it will be almost impossible to break. But pine is the middle road for breaking boards. So if you're looking for something just on the average, gives you a good challenge, and it's not too hard, not too easy, pine is the way to go. But if you are having trouble breaking pine, you can get something a little lighter and easier, or if you're just blowing right through these, you can go ahead and get you something a little harder from there, but it is up to you. But the dimensions on the board, you'll notice there are two different kinds, and depending on your size and strength and all that kind of stuff, you're going to want two different kinds. You have the kids board on the bottom, and we have the adult size on the top, which is pretty much a perfect square. So let's go ahead and talk about the kids board first here. You'll notice on the kids and the adult, there is going to be a common width because of the sheet of wood you're cutting it from. But here we go. We're going to have on the, let's say the vertical side here. That's going to be standard, 11 1/4, 11.25 inches. So you cannot change that. But here, when you start cutting your different boards out, you're going to want for the kids board, you're going to want an 8-inch width here. And depending on if you're having trouble with it, if the kids board is just way too hard, if you're young, go ahead and bring it up to about 7 or maybe 6 inches to make the pine board even easier if you're still having trouble with it. So that's your kids, their standard kids board. Like I said, it's going to be pretty much a perfect square. It's going to be 11 1/4 on the sides and 11 1/4 on the top. So the length and width is going to be the same, 11.25, 11.25. So that is your standard boards here. And make sure when you're picking them out, now you'll notice this one does not have any knots in it, but this one does. And obviously you can't tell which one's heavier, but even though this is the adult board and this is the kids, this one is a lot heavier and probably would be a lot harder than this one here, because this one you can tell it's this one's a lighter color. This one, depending on the color of your screen, this one is a little darker. So when you're picking out that wood, make sure you look for the color to be lighter and less knots. You'll notice this one's only got just a little one here, and you have a pretty big one here. So make sure when you're picking out that wood, lighter the color, most of the time means it's a lighter sheet of wood, and also look for one that does not have a lot of knots in it. So there's your standard boards. I believe you can make about, from one sheet, you can get about 10 to 15 boards from each sheet there, so that's not too bad. So make sure you've got a straight cut when you're cutting those boards. All right, now we have our breakable boards here. You'll notice there are different colors, and each color demonstrates different strength depending on what you're looking for. Now your easiest one, they do offer a white belt board, but that is pretty much just too easy for everyone. So you'll notice on these boards, these do have some writing on them. Let me see if I can get one without any writing. Let's go ahead and use the orange one here. Okay. You'll notice on these boards, if we can get in just a little bit closer, that it does have a grain pattern here, and that will come in very handy in our board breaking introduction video, because I will show you pretty much every board break there is and how to position your hands so that you're not breaking it incorrectly, and then you're going to injure yourself and maybe the holder. So we'll go ahead and go through all that in the next video, but for now, just let me give you a little heads up on these boards. You notice the grain, like I said, that's very important when you're setting up for your break. It does have that on here, or you can just go by the line here, positioning your board for your break. These are real good. Let me see. Now each one has a different strength depending on the color. Now this one is equal to a little less than your standard adult board here. But if you want one that's equal to this board, what you're going to want to go for is the green board. And a little tip for you, even if you do get the green board and it is just way too hard for you, just go ahead and spray a little WD-40 on the teeth. There are some teeth in there if you pull those apart. Let me pull one apart here and just show you. You'll notice they're just interlocking teeth. They just lock in together like this, and you just snap them together, hit them on the floor, and put them back together from there. And you'll notice It's got some good rubber grips on the back here. You can grab onto that real good. If your hands get sweaty, that's real good for maintaining your grip. So that is your breakable board. And it does go by the belt rank color. So you can think of it as, if you're a yellow belt, obviously that's going to be an easy board to break. Orange, you get a little harder. Going up to the green, like I said, which is equal to a adult size board. But some people, when you first get these boards, they may be a little more harder than because it does have a thing on the back. It's got a list of what strength each one is. But like something new, especially this, it may be a little harder than what it actually says. So you may want to put a little WD-40 on the back. Then we have our brown. Now these brown and black ones are pretty difficult to break. Now even though everybody wants to break the blackboard and think they're, super cool for breaking it, but the black ones now, they're very difficult, and I would stay away from the blackboards because on most of these, they're so hard to break. When you do break them, you are going to break some of the teeth off when you break them. So these, we have found, do not last as long as the typical, other boards, like from here, the blue and the green. But if you're looking for something that you can grow with, and let's say you're not breaking kids' board, you're breaking adult boards, the blue one is probably the best for you because it's going to be a little difficult at first, but the more you break them, like anything, like plastic, and you're constantly putting them back and forth together, it is going to get a little loose, and it is going to get a little easier over time. So if you're adult size or just big for your age, I would go with the blue one. But if you're a kid, if you're going through this, you may want to start off with the yellow one, or get you an orange one here and just put a little WD-40 on a couple of the teeth, not all the teeth, because then it will be it'll be easier than a white belt board to break, which we do not have here. So if you're a kid size, get you an orange one, put a little WD-40 on a couple of the teeth until it is what you need. So that is your breakable boards. Hopefully you got something out of this, and I will see you in your board breaking introduction.